Weekend Update with Seth Meyers.
I'm Seth Meyers, and here are tonight's top stories. Tonight is the anniversary of the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers, which we covered back in 2008. In commemoration, we'll be having 3 guests on to talk about the cause of this financial crisis and whether that was simply a precursor to a far larger recession. The guests that will be joining us tonight each had an important role in government in the years surrounding the United States financial meltdown. First, we will be joined by Alan Greenspan, providing one of his rare broadcast interviews. And here he is, right here.
Hello, Seth.
Nice to meet you, sir.
You as well.
Let me start by asking you, what have you been up to recently?
Well, since leaving my position at the Fed, I've been trying to keep my position as near 0% full. You know, it lets me take risks and be spontaneous. The only real issue in my life is this big lump I feel in my chest. You know, my wife says it's a problem, but I think it might burst, but you know, I don't really understand it, so I'm just going to ignore it and keep going on my life.
Probably shouldn't ignore it. Probably a lesson you learned back in 2008. But anyways, that's interesting, sir. Have you been criticized by many as one of the people most responsible for the 2008 financial crisis? Care to elaborate on any mistakes you felt you made?
Well, I prepared for this question. I have a long list of many things. I was wrong, though. Regulation is not always evil. I believe in the free market, but there must be checks. Also, a cheap dollar monetary policy has consequences. It's hard to see those consequences in the moment, however, when we are coming off a 25-year boom economically from the Ronald Reagan era. I've supported Clinton's decision in the Graham-Leach-Biley Act, repealing the Glass-Steagall Act. I spearheaded the Commodity Futures Monetization Act of 2000 that allowed credit default swaps to speculate on credit risk without any debt fallbacks. All of these decisions were criticized heavily, but I stick by them, which is probably stupid.
Oh, what? Yeah, what? Yeah, okay. Wow, that is certainly a lot. Yep, how do you sleep at night?
On a pile of $10 million. You know, I don't trust the banks. You know, I like to keep it under my bed. That seems ridiculous.
Sounds extremely comfortable. Thank you for your time, Mr. Greenspan. It's wonderful meeting you.
I am really the best.
You really are. Alright. Our next, how do you put this? Person that knows exactly what they're doing is none other than the Secretary of Treasury, Henry Paulson. Henry, how are you doing today?
Hello, Seth. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure to be chatting with the man many credit with saving our economy from certain destruction.
Well, I wouldn't say it was single-handedly, you know.
No?
No. I was multitasking constantly. It required both hands most of the time.
I see. And what exactly were you doing for a total meltdown?
Well, the Treasury's decision to extend up to $200 billion to Fannie and Freddie, the 2 largest GSEs, that's government-sponsored enterprises, for those of you at home.
Obviously, who wouldn't know that?
Was a decision I fully supported and pushed for, under the condition that the companies become a conservatorship of the government.
Conservatorship?
Conservative.
Conservative. What does that entail?
Yes, it means the government becomes in charge of Fannie and Freddie's assets, all loans and debts, while leaving the company to kind of work its way out of it after we're done meddling with it.
So, a bailout.
We prefer aid or loan, anything that makes it not sound as if the government is favoring any company in America.
But you do favor Fannie and Freddie.
Oh, no doubt. They're GSEs, but you didn't hear it from me.
Right. So, more about these conservatorships? Yeah.
Yes. Under our initiative, the government took control of Fannie and Freddie until the companies could get back on their feet.
So, like, when a grandma gets sick and the family inherits her estate to take care of her until she's better?
Exactly. Except in this case, it was extremely important to make sure that family didn't just pull the plug on the grandma and steal their assets.
Okay. Good night, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you have a great night.
I will. I plan to.
It's okay. That was kind of awkward. Our last guest tonight is Senator Chris Dodd, who will be explaining the law that he proposed along with Barney Frank.
Hello there, Seth.
Hello, Senator. So, what was this act you proposed?
Well, it was called the Dodd-Frank Wall Street and Consumer Protection Act. The purpose of this act was basically to provide consumer protection against predatory mortgage lending.
Just really great on the creativity of that name. Just wow,
Well,
it's
thank you.
absolutely
I thought
wonderful. But that sounds great. So brokers were not allowed to sell loans to buyers who could not afford it, right?
Well, I mean, that was the purpose of it, but
Did it work?
looking back on it,
So you promise me that you're not going to make me buy something I can't afford, right?
Of course I won't do that. I'm so gonna do that.
Are you sure this will work?
yeah, it's totally gonna work. Trust me, it's definitely gonna work. It didn't work.
Well, how about the Troubled Asset Relief Program?
Oh yes, that the TARP. Basically, what the TARP's purpose was to provide stability to the economy and prevent the disruption by giving money to banks in order for them to give out loans to people who needed them.
So, were the banks responsible and did they give out loans?
Not really. I mean, Richard Fuld is still living in my basement because of his irresponsibility.
The former CEO of Lehman Brothers?
Yes. His bank didn't exactly give out those loans, so they kind of went bankrupt.
Wow.
Now that I think of it, it didn't really help when the Federal Reserve cut interest rates at 1%.
So, wait a minute. Dick Folds is living in your basement.
Yeah, he kind of came to me begging after the crash happened, which is kind of funny when you think about it. That's him. He got caught stealing food from a kid again. I'm sorry, but I have to cut this short.
Well, thank you for your time, Senator. Good luck with that.
Alright. It's been a pleasure, Seth.
Been a pleasure. Hope you have a great night in the police station.
Thank you.
This has been Seth Meyers, joined by our three guests, Alan Greenspan, Henry Paulson, and Chris Dodd. It's been a pleasure to have them tonight and to learn a little bit too much of their lives. And I hope you have a great night, folks. This has been Katie and Seth Meyers.